This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com with Piper, who just watched the Paige, aka Soraya, promo from Dynamite last night that AEW put on their YouTube channel. She did an in-ring thing with Britt Baker, which I believe there is a Britt Baker match on this channel from PCW Ultra. I think Britt Baker against Tessa Blanchard. But I must say that I found the Paige in-ring promo with Britt Baker more entertaining than the MJF one with William Regal, which I found extremely boring. And I didn't even last through the whole MJF William Regal one. And AEW has had the MJF William Regal one as the feature video on their YouTube channel for weeks now, trying to get it as many hits as possible. Because for those of you that don't know, if you have a video that you want to get hits, keep it as your feature video. So anyone that goes on your page that video will automatically play. But for as big as their channel is, it's not really done anything astronomical for how much they like to say MJF is so great. But congratulations to MJF. He is going to be playing Lance Von Erich in the Von Erich's Iron Claw movie. I am impressed by that. I actually think I met the producer of that movie one night in Dallas with Lacey. Because I'm pretty positive that the producer is one of Lacey's friends. But it was so long ago, I would have to double check on that. But I remember them talking about a Von Erichs movie, and I'm pretty sure it's the same one. But Dynamite last night did a 0.43 rating, which was up. Vince McMahon, for as much as everyone likes to think that he's suffering right now, he appeared in Forbes' richest people in the world list. He is the 1,397th richest person in the world with an estimated value of $2.2 billion. So Vince McMahon, who is, by the way, still the majority owner of WWE, is worth billions. Shad Khan, though, the father of Tony Khan and financer of AEW, he is worth $7.6 billion. So his billions put Vince McMahon's to shame, which is why it doesn't matter if AEW ever makes money. They still haven't made money. They're still in the red. But it's a tax write-off. When you have $7.6 billion, I mean, you have to call CM Punk a flop overall, because they're going to have to buy him out of his contract, even though he only made like not that many appearances between getting hurt and getting suspended and all that crap. And supposedly they were paying about $3.3 million a year, but when you're worth $7.6 billion, that's just a tax write-off. It's pennies. It's less than pennies to your average people. Ted Turner, the former owner of WCW, is worth $2.3 billion, still a little bit richer than Vince McMahon. Apparently, Jeff Jarrett did a promo last night where he referenced the make-believe monster in skinny jeans, aka Braun Strowman, and called WWE's head of creative Triple H Banana Nose. Apparently, WWE has discontinued the 24/7 championship. I am agree. That was long overdue. That should never have existed. Apparently, Mick Foley, who was so nice to me when I was a kid, I talked about him last night in my Montreal Screwjob memory. He is the highest earning athlete on Cameo, making around 500,000 last year from Cameo alone. So that is impressive. My hat's off to them. Oh, and by the way, when I cut my little promo on Mick Foley last night, guys, I got some hate mail over that, and I'm glad that all you people that hate me don't think I can cut a promo, then get mad at me when I cut a heel promo. I think it's funny. I wish Mick Foley the best. I was just joking around because he cut a promo on me when I was a kid. Also, wrestlers that do well on Cameo is the guy that got screwed, Bret the Hitman Hart. He's still making $200,000 a year just from Cameo alone. Matt Hardy is apparently making around $100,000 a year. Wow, I like Matt Hardy, by the way, as a person and as a wrestler. And Danhausen supposedly made $100,000 on Cameo. So that's pretty damn good. Congratulations to all of you. Paulo making a comment on there. I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, yeah, by the way, the one thing, thank you, Nicholas. I appreciate it. I did actually enjoy my interview with Mario Mancini, and I found it entertaining. I'm glad you did too. Many people did. Some people thought it was one of my best interviews. And then I had a few haters. One person saying, "Oh, you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel." Going with Mario Mancini. I actually found him very entertaining. And by the way, there's one of my competitors actually had The Rock on not too long ago, and I still kicked his ass in monthly views. Doesn't matter what guest you have on, it's how entertaining their stories are. I mean, I've given that comparison before. One weekend I did Tank Abbott and Tito Ortiz in the same weekend, and Tito was fresh off his victory over Chuck Liddell, and he was all over the news. And Tank Abbott, who had been off the radar, destroyed him in views because he was just more entertaining. So I actually remember Mario Mancini from being a fan of the Superstars era and the enhancement matches. I actually watched The Undertaker against Mario Mancini yesterday, and then went back and watched it a second time after he told me some details about the match, and enjoyed it both times. And I can't remember the last modern wrestling match I've enjoyed. But there is one thing I will mention. I did like the Paige promo about Britt Baker. Paige was talking about paying her dues and traveling the road. Like, even though she made it at a young age, she was from a wrestling family. She had paid her dues. And then I saw this thing where WWE is advertising their new fall 2022 rookie class of all these people signed to contracts to train. And it's like they're just not going to have the same heart as the guys in the 80s that actually had to pay their dues to become stars, and the same wild attitude that you get from being on the road and going through the hard times and being hazed and all that stuff. Because as bad as it is, I've friggin' been through hazing. And I've paid my dues, God, possibly more than anyone's ever paid dues. If you consider the disease I caught from one point in wrestling and had to battle back, and traveling all over the place, not making any money, but now finally making money as a wrestling reporter in the business. So I guess it was all worth it in the end. But like, I don't think that these people being signed and being paid to train, I just don't see a great entertainment future in wrestling. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It's just going to be more and more corporate. But yeah, I must say there were some good-looking women in that class. Yes, but wrestling is just not the same. I'll watch a jobber match from the 80s or early 90s any day over a match from today. Chris says he also likes Flair more than Foley. And for any of you that did catch my story yesterday, when I was a kid, even though I arranged for a free ride for Mick Foley from one hotel to another, he was mad at me because I told him that I had liked the WCW show with Hogan against Jacques Rougeau better than the Survivor Series because it was better. The audience atmosphere was better. The stars were better. We hadn't seen Flair or Hogan forever. And I told him Ric Flair was my favorite. And anyways, he ended up yelling at me. Go back and watch it yesterday's. The Gore Lord says, I'm better than Pat McAfee. By the way, Pat McAfee is having a kid. Congratulations to him. I actually respect him. Young Macho Man, any Angelina Love stories? Yes. I'll tell you an Angelina Love story. I think I have time. I have a meeting in 20 minutes with somebody from YouTube. But yes, Angelina Love, she was in Deep South Wrestling when I was there. And I don't hold this against her, and I have done a little interview with her since. Oh, damn it. Sorry. My computer is about to run out of batteries. I'm sorry. I unplugged it earlier. Okay. Maybe I should save the story at this point. Young Macho Man Savage. Okay, I'll tell you this story. Okay. They didn't like the people that didn't have contracts that were training in Deep South Wrestling. And I was poor, paying to train. Unlike these college athletes, I was actually paying. I passed a tryout and I had to pay to train with the development wrestlers in Deep South Wrestling, which I did for about 2 months, and I appeared on the shows. But after the naked stink face thing, I kind of just went back to Puerto Rico, where I was being paid to be a wrestler. But anyways, I was staying with Tyrus, and Angelina Love actually lived right in front of us. Everyone lived in like these townhouses. I think I previously mentioned Great Khali and I were the only ones that ever seemed to use the pool. So he was one of the nice ones. Old Lake Prudis was nice, but some people were assholes and bitches. And I remember I was walking, and I eventually bought a bicycle to both the gym and the training. And one day I was leaving the gym at the exact same time as Angelina Love, and it was just starting to pour rain out. Like a thunderstorm was just starting. And as I said, by the way, Matt Stryker was also nice, but again, he had already made the regular roster by then. But anyways, it's starting to pour rain out, and she was walking out the gym at the same time as me. And I said, do you mind if I get a ride with you? Or I said, are you going home? Do you mind if I get a ride with you? And she's like, let me explain something to you. You know how the male wrestlers and female wrestlers change in different dressing rooms? Well, we're like that outside of the ring too. Sorry. And even though we were going to the exact same place, I walked home in the rain. So I thought that was a real bitch thing to do for someone that was like paying to be there and like working his ass off. So I would estimate that the reason she didn't make it in the WWE, she did well in TNA. And as I said, I don't hold that against her. I'm sure she's changed over the years. And she was nice to me when I interviewed her. And she didn't bring that up. She may not have even remembered it, but I did. If she didn't make it in WWE, it was probably because of her attitude issues, because that's just a mean thing to do to somebody. I'm sorry, but like, it really wouldn't have been any issue to just drive someone home. And those were the days before Uber. Not that I could have even afforded Uber at that time. My favorite WrestleMania match, well, one that I was reminded of recently was the Ultimate Warrior against Macho Man from WrestleMania 7, where like the people in the crowd were crying after. It had so much emotion. Two of my favorites. And then the Macho Man Ric Flair from WrestleMania 8, another one filled with emotion. Coincidentally, Elizabeth in both of those two. What a sad loss. Abdullah the Butcher, from what I understand, he recently had a secret divorce settlement, which probably might be why he hasn't been begging for money online lately. And no, that whole legal situation cost me probably, it started in 2010 and we're now 2022. And probably near $150,000 by now. Big Vito, I asked him a couple times and he didn't respond, so fuck him. I was never a fan of his anyways. Nothing against him, but him appearing on my podcast would have been good publicity for him, but I'm not going to ask people like that multiple times if they don't answer me. Nothing against him, but I'm not. I don't care about him enough to ask him more than a few times. Because I think I asked him once, and then someone else said, "Oh, I talked to him. He said he would do your show." Message him again. The same thing happened with Steven Richards and Barry Harwitz. These are people that everyone said, "Oh, we talked to them. They want to do your show." Then they don't answer. So it's like they're either lying to you or something's up. Marcus liked the WCW video games. Mike, happy Friday Eve to you too. John says that's terrible. Oh yeah, that really like, it was disheartening. There was so many assholes in Deep South Wrestling. One guy John Paz just interviewed, Jay Bradley. He was another fucking asshole in Deep South Wrestling. Arrogant guy that thought he was, because at a brief period of time he was the champion and he treated everyone like shit. And probably another guy that ultimately didn't make it due to attitude. And the ones that made it from that territory, well, Zack Ryder was another asshole from that area, that territory, and he never amounted to anything. But MVP was nice. The Tyrus was nice. He ended up becoming a star on Fox. So he probably made it bigger in real life, even bigger than wrestling. Matt Striker was nice. Not that many made it from Deep South. Oleg Prudis was really nice. I remember I had bought a mattress and I was carrying it on the back from the store because I didn't have a car to where I lived, which was like a 10 or 15-minute walk. I was carrying a mattress, and Oleg Prudis pulled up in a Humvee because he was getting huge money. And he's like, throw that in the back of my Humvee. And he drove me. And I mean, that's a guy that probably was one of the biggest, like, he had matches with Triple H. He did pretty well. But Matt Striker, I remember I was walking from the laundromat with my laundry one day, and I didn't even know Matt Striker because he had already graduated. He just still lived in the building, and he like pulled over and he's like, "Oh man, I got a lot of respect for you doing this without a contract," and he was just really nice. So it's funny that the guys that treated the people that weren't signed like human beings and not like pieces of crap. Even though I was actually a Puerto Rico wrestling star at that time, and most of these guys were just signed from straight contract, like straight as rookies. But yeah, it's funny that the ones that seem to make it from that territory were the nice ones. John still can't believe Wes Briscoe never made it bigger. Well, you know what? I was told by Mario Mancini last night about Chief Jay Strongbow's son that actually wrestled, and Mario said that his son never really made it either. And I actually went back and looked up Chief Jay Strongbow's son, who had like a breakdancing gimmick and was actually good at breakdancing in the 80s when it was popular. I don't know why he never made it. It was weird. Anyways, I have a meeting to get to, so I wish everybody a good night. And by the way, I don't hold any grudges against any of those people. Wish them all the best. I don't care. It's all part of life, and I'm glad where I ended up in life with my lovely dog Piper asleep beside me right now. Have a good night.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any